Good evening and welcome to your midweek edition of All for United. On this international break, we're still going to try and give you a little bit of nugget of Manchester United news and little whatever we can United based, basically, just to take our mind off the boring international break. And for that, I've got three quality guests on the panel. Daz, how are we doing? How are we doing today?
I'm good. Really good. I'm trying to stay positive while we've got the boring football on the telly, but I'm good.
Good. Andrew, down there, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. Made it here by the skin of my teeth, I did.
Better late than never, as they say.
Yeah.
Adam, how about you, buddy? How are you?
Yeah, all good, mate. Thanks for having me back on again.
Lovely. Well, I thought, given the fact we've got a new manager coming in, another new manager post Fergie, let's kind of delve into what we all think is the best 11 post Fergie. So we'll kind of go round us all. We'll all say a keeper. We'll all say a right back. We'll kind of break it up so we're not all saying it at once. So yeah, let's start with the goalkeepers. Daz, who's your goalkeeper post Fergie? Who are you having?
It's easy to put David De Gea in there, but in my head, I didn't want to pick any Ferguson players because I thought that it's sort of catapulted. Mine's Sergio Romero.
Yeah, I agree. I think he was quality. I thought it was a really good number two, wasn't it?
Goalkeeper, and I think if we'd have known now what we knew then, that actually we was going to get rid of David De Gea, I'd have kept him around and I'd have just pushed him over when we were trying to push Dean Anderson.
Yeah. I can't remember whether it was it Van Gaal or was it Jose, the Europa League run, and he was so good in that competition.
Mourinho, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, he was really good, wasn't he? Who have you got, Adam, as yours?
Yeah, you know what? I picked Romero as well, so I didn't want to go De Gea because obviously De Gea was a Fergie keeper, and then we've not really got many options from there. But he got a bit of like a cult hero status for his cup runs, and just because he was a consummate professional.
Yeah.
He never kind of moaned and he knew he wasn't going to take over De Gea, but when he did come in, he did such a good job for us. So he rightly got that status, and I wish we'd have kept him on, but I was really happy to see him go on and continue his career.
I mean, it even got to a point, didn't it, at one stage, where there was a section of the fans that wanted him to have a go, wanted him to be put in like first choice in the league and stuff. What about you, Andrew? Who have you got? Have we got a clean sweep?
Unfortunately not. I can see the advantage of a Romero being there. Say he won trophies during his time at United, and played a starring role in the Europa League final against Ajax. But I'm going to have to back. I know it was a Fergie time, but he was only there for a couple of seasons under Fergie. But yeah, I've got to back David De Gea as well. Okay, there's points. I think player, one of the players of the season, his goals, saved us points and even gained us points. And I'm just like, okay, in the recent years, before he left, okay, his form was up and down, but you could always guarantee he'd pull something out of the hat for us. But equally, he could do something, that could put us into trouble. But yeah, I had to back De Gea. So say this is equally as one.
He goes down in the same breath for me as Schmeichel and that kind of ilk.
In terms of a top three,
yeah, he's up there.
He's third, but then I have to put Van der Sar and then
Van der Sar and Schmeichel and him. They're definitely top three of all time, definitely.
Yeah. So when David first came, he was like, would he adapt to the Premier League? And he just didn't look like he was built physically for it. But then he knuckled down and, he got a grip on it. And,
I'm glad to see him doing well at Fiorentina as well. I am.
And I'm because I thought if he doesn't find a club this summer, I just thought he'd probably end up retiring. And I'm so glad that he has. And there was a match a good few weeks ago where he saved 2 penalties. And I thought it's very rare that David De Gea saves 1 penalty, but to do it twice, I'm just thinking, and I think from what I'm hearing, he's loving it being in Fiorentina as well. So, but yeah. So got to back David.
I mean, he was quality, weren't he? I mean, like Boxers just said in the comments, there was a period of time where De Gea was amazing. I mean, how many Player of the Years did he win for us? Was it 3, 2 in a row, something like that?
3 in a row.
And he was quality. 3 in a row. He was just so good, wasn't he? I was one of the fans that wanted to keep him, actually. I know there was a big swell in the fan base that thought because he wasn't great playing out and all that, but he was such a good such a good shot stopper. And I think he's proving that at Fiorentina now. He's still a very, very good goalkeeper.
I think he was on for maybe a 4, but I think Ander Herrera got there instead because he had an exceptional season, but David also did as well. But so
very good. Yeah, I don't think you can disagree with De Gea, to be honest. I think that this is where it starts getting a little bit tricky. I think the back line. So we'll go with right backs first. We'll go to Adam first. Who have you got as your right back?
I mean, we've got slim pickings, haven't we? So I've gone for Delo, just because I think what I really like about Delo is there was once upon a time where it looked like he wasn't going to be a United player. He went on loan for that season, and everyone kind of forgot about him and thought he'd just be moved on in the summer. And he came back with a bit between his teeth. And he played us in Europe that year. I remember it. He played really well. For Milan, and then he came back the year after, and he got the bit between his teeth, and he removed Wan-Bissaka, who was meant to be the first choice at that time, and he's cementing himself as one of the starters for us now. Whether it's left or right back, he's proved himself to be really versatile. So I've got to go with Delo post Fergie.
Yeah, that's fair. Did you say Delo as well?
Yeah, I think it's. If you're thinking of non-Ferguson players, I think it's really only going to come down to Delo and Darmian. Never really felt that. I felt that Darmian should have sort of had a similar journey to Delo in the way that you loan him out, you get him some experience, and then let's see how he comes back. And like Adam said, not a lot of players, especially at a club like Manchester United, can sort of get brought in to be the man, realise you're not the man, and quite a lot of fans dislike you. You then get sent away on loan because we don't know what to do with you, to then come back. Don't get me wrong, he's one of the players that we could easily upgrade on, and the only reason I'm a little bit torn is because I think in 15 games that we've had him, I've seen more from Mazraoui at right back than I ever have from Delo. I think, but because he's only been there, 10, 15 games, whatever he's played, you're going to have to go for Delo.
Yeah. What about you, Andrew? Is it a clean sweep this time, or have you gone somewhere else?
No, I'm going to go clean sweep, but there wasn't much to choose from. So it was, like I said, it was Darmian as well. But as I was going to say on him as well, I'd say he was Van Gaal signing, and say Darmian wasn't known for his rampaging runs, but he was a decent signing. But I say he's now at Inter Milan and he's won the Serie A title, so he's done well in Italy. So, but no, Delo for me. I say it's like last season. It was like who's going to cement their spot? Was it Wan-Bissaka or Delo? And I think whilst Wan-Bissaka could get forward, it was more his defensive. But Delo was like, we need somebody who could get us on the attack, which he was good at doing. And I'm just thinking back to the FA Cup final where his cross landed in front of the goalkeeper in the City player, and Garnacho was there running on to the end of it. So, but yeah, for me, Delo is probably the best of the lot we could have choose from. But as I say, I know Ollie didn't quite. Yeah, it was under Ollie. He didn't quite fancy him, so he sent him out on loan. So it was just like, came back, and then say Ten Hag liked him, and we'll see if Ruben does as well, which I think he might. Just we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I've had Delo as well. I mean, I think there was a point in time where, as you said, Andrew, we had Wan-Bissaka, who was very good defensively, and then we had Delo who was a bit better going forward. And if you could have just morphed those two together, it would have been great. But as Adam said, I think the fact that Delo seems to have worked on his game, doesn't he? Seems to have got a lot more to his game now. He's much better defensively, and he's still that threat going forward. I thought last season he was probably our best player, to be honest. I know, it was slightly slim pickings, but I thought he was probably our best, our most consistent. He's always fit as well, isn't he? He always plays.
Never misses the game at the moment.
No, it must just be a Portuguese thing. Bruno never does either, does he?
Even though when times they've gone down, it looks like they're hurt, and you think, oh, are they got to come off? They're soon back up.
Yeah.
And, still running around the pitch.
Yeah. As I say, the best ability is availability and all that. We'll go left back here. I think this might be quite an easy one. We'll come back to you, Andrew. Go on. You do your left back first.
Even though he hasn't played in recent times, and I just think on his day and when he's fit, Luke Shaw for me, it's just, you remember years ago where he was like putting in season after season performances. Okay, when he first came, he didn't start so well, breaking his leg, and you thought, would he actually come back from that? And he's had challenging times at United, as I say, even when he was cut adrift by Mourinho. I remember one game at Everton at home, he threw Luke Shaw on, and Mourinho said it was a 3-on, but it was my mind and me controlling him. But I just thought that's not a nice thing to say. I'm controlling, players to think for themselves. But as I say, he's had impressive seasons at United, but it's just been, when he's fit and in full flow, he can be, a key cog in the United squad. So, but it's just the last few years, it's just like we've just not seen anything of him. I'm just like, it's coming to a point where now I know he's coming back now, but I'm just thinking, fingers crossed, he stays fit and gets a good run in the side. But my worry is if he keeps breaking down again, sooner or later we're gonna have to look for another left back. So, but for me, I would put him in the side over the post Fergie years.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. Daz, who have you got?
The man that seems to pick himself because he's the only one always available. I say always available, but Luke Shaw, because the story of his career, isn't it? Is the England left back because there's no other left backs at any quality. I don't think, again, at Man United we've had any to compare him with. But I did some research on early. He's only been available for 52% of his games at Man United, which that's sad in the way that we're all probably going to agree is going to be the left back in the post-Ferguson 11, but it's only been available 52% of the times, which is an example of potentially how long we've got it post-Ferguson.
Yeah, maybe. The fact he had that very bad injury, I think you got to give him props for coming back, and he did come back strong after that, didn't he? Adam, have you got a clean sweep?
Yeah, only because he's been at the club now since Fergie left. I think he was bought that summer, wasn't he, as Fergie left and Moyes took over. But I do want to give an honourable mention to Marcus Rojo because I did like him.
Yes, great shout.
Tenacious Argentinian, and he got it again, another player that got a little bit of a cult status while he was here. So I'd give an honourable mention to him. I was torn between the two of them just because I
think he would have looked great in a defence with Lisandro Martinez.
He would have done,
wouldn't he? They would have paired quite well together.
They'd have took no shit, would they, them two? Wow.
No one would have wanted to have tackled down that side of the pitch.
I think it says a lot about Shaw, the fact, even now, if Shaw can stay fit, he probably still walks into that United team. Whether he will under Amorim, with how he's going to play or not, I don't know. But if we're playing a back four, if Shaw's fit, he's in, isn't he? Which I think it's same with England, as you say, Daz. He's still our best left back, which is crazy. This is a part where I thought was a little bit difficult. Give us your first centre back, Daz. Go just one, and then we'll move on to the next one in a bit.
Harry Maguire.
Okay.
I think it's quite hard. On paper, people might bring the names of Varane to the name, but I don't think Varane was anywhere close to the Varane that Real Madrid let go. He never really hit the heights. So I think, in general, Harry Maguire has been a really, really good centre-back. And I think the guts and the intensity in him to come back from what he came back from and have somewhat of a good season last year, I think he's probably one of the best two we've had.
Yeah, that's fair. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go Harry Maguire as well. I know he gets a lot of stick from our support, but he does do a job. He might not suit what United fans consider United style, United way. But who was I watching an interview the other day? David Moyes, who on Stick to Football, and he mentioned that, they'd have to do specific instructions if they knew Maguire was playing because they said we won't be able to pump balls into the box against United because he's just a magnet and he's a monster and heads everything way. And he's so dangerous on set pieces as well. So he does give a lot more than maybe he's given credit for. Yes, he makes mistakes. Yes, he can be a bit clumsy and a bit slow. But if we start Under Armour and as this 3-4-3 system as it looks like, I think he's going to go into that starting 11 myself. And once he's fit, I think he's going to be starting alongside De Ligt and Martinez whilst they bring Yoro through and give him that game time, that experience.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. What about you, Andrew? Who have you got as your first centre-back?
I'm going to make it a clean sweep. I'm going to say Harry Maguire as well. I just think, often, scapegoated and mocked, and received, merciless treatment, obviously around the price tag that we paid for him. But if you ignore most of that, then he's remained a reliable presence, and he deserves huge credit for not, going under, with some very personal abuse at him. Some games, he's made a mistake, like all players do anyway. So just like he seemed to get it twice as much. But like the last season, it was just like he just got Moran got injured, and it was just like Maguire stepped up, and it was like for like a good 10 to 12 games, he was putting in man of the match performances, and just unfortunate towards the end of last season, he got injured as well. So it's just like when he comes back, I'm trying to work out with Ruben Aaron the three. If he goes three at the back, who he's going to put as those threes. Whether Harry Maguire fits into that, I don't know. But to say he's a reliable, pleasant presence in the defence. That's who I choose.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I've got Maguire as well. I think he's solid. As Adam said, anything that's floated in, Maguire attacks, he takes it. And I think he's so underrated, so scapegoated. I think the price tag, which obviously isn't the player's fault, I think it's always on media, fans' mind, isn't it? Well, we paid 80 million for him. He's a good defender, Maguire. And I fully think when he's back, as Adam said, as Andrew says, he'll be in that back three. Give me a second centre back. Adam, we'll go with you first.
So this was tough. I think the obvious one's Martinez, because again, I think he's become a bit of a cult hero the last few years. But again, I wanted to give an honourable mention to Daley Blind, because I loved Daley Blind when he was with us as well. Another versatile player, left back, centre back, and there was 2-3 seasons where he didn't really put a foot wrong for us. But I'm going to give it to Martinez just because when he is fit, obviously, I know he had his injury problems last season. He has been an absolute monster for us. Mm-hmm. So aggressive, proving everyone wrong who said he was too small, he was this, he was too that. He wasn't going to survive the Premier League. He's done that and so much more for us. And he's quickly become a fan favourite. If you go on the games, you often hear that around you. So, Martinez for me.
Yeah, that's a fair shout. Daz, who have you got for your second?
I'm actually torn between two, and I've gone for Sandro Martinez, just for all of the reasons Adam's basically just said. The other one that I was torn between was Daley Blind, and I know he was sort of an oddball in the team. He sort of got put right centre back, left centre back, played some games as a CDM. But I remember them few years under Louis van Gaal, who played quite a defensive game, and he was so important to the way that played. And he was always, like I say, you needed to move him around a little bit. He was so adaptable to that. But obviously, I went for the Sandro Martinez just because the main reason for me was, after Rio Ferdinand and Vidic retired, we sort of ended up with Smalling and Phil Jones, and we struggled to take the level of defending back to what I would have thought is a top 4 level. Harry Maguire did lift that a little bit, but I don't think it was enough to say that they're worthy of mentioning the names of a Vidic or a Ferdinand. But when Lisandro Martinez come in, I think he really did lift that ceiling. Like I say, when he is fit and he plays, we're now talking about this is the new Vidic, and I think that's why I've gone with him over Daley Blind.
Yeah, it's a fair shout. Andrew, who have you got?
I'm going to go say Martinez myself. So it's kind of that was outside of Old Trafford, written him off before he even stepped foot in the place, and so he's adapted to the Premier League as well. I'm just saying, in the first few games, it was like, especially that Brentford away, and I just remember Jamie Carragher, and Graham says, "Oh, he's not tall enough." And then was in the start of this season, the Fulham game, and afterwards he stood by Jamie Carragher. You're the same in height. It was like not standing on tippy toes, but yeah, he's just like you can see when in the games as well when he's going in for those tackles, and and he just gets the crowd lifted as well, and the shouts of Argentina as well. Well, during the game and when he's coming off as well, but he's just like need that bit of aggression in the defence, and which at points over the last post Fergie we've sometimes lacked. But as I say, just stay fit. That's all I ask of him, and then he gets a good run in the side as well.
Yeah, he's an absolute warrior, isn't he? I think that's why all us fans love him, because he just leaves everything out there on the pitch. I think Box has made a decent point. Oh, Mike Smalling, he had a period, didn't he, where he was very, very good.
Very good.
And I think he carried that on at Roma as well, didn't he? He had a couple of very good seasons at Roma when he moved over there, didn't he? So I used to like Mike Smalling.
I did as well.
But
he was one of those rare ones where I thought we shouldn't have got rid of him.
Yeah, like we got rid of him a bit too early. I agree. We'll go with the right side of midfield, or however you want to sort of line it up. Andrew, we'll go with you first, as you look unsure, so we'll go with you first.
Well, I'm just trying to, because I've written down my players, but I've written them in a formation, and I'm just like, hang on. When you said the right side of the midfield, it's like a classic 4-4-2. This is. If we're going for the right, because going on the right flank. See, I've got two players here, and I just don't.
I mean, you set it up however you wish. If it's not the right, then you know.
Yeah, it's just the way you said it. I'm just like, I'm going like the way you said it, like 4-4-2. I'm just like.
Shall I go to one of the others, and I'll come back?
No, if I'm going on the right, I'm going to go with Garnacho. I'm going to go with him on the right side of the same midfield attack. So, but with Garnacho, that the potential he holds, still got an amazing career ahead at United, and it just not just the present, but I just think you got Diallo chasing him down for that right flank position, but Garnacho's his abilities to be on the right, but also the left, and I just think he's been, I'm just going to put him on the right. My players who I've picked, so I just thought, just got to get him in there, because I just think every time he literally gets on the ball at Old Trafford, everyone's just on their feet anyway, because I just think something special might just happen, like Sunday, where he just like scored and was just like, that's what he can do. And he, you give him the ball, he can create some magic as well. So, but yeah, Garnacho on the right for me, if that fits in with your formation.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be 4-4-2. However, we squeeze 11 players in. That's all that matters. Yeah. But I would say though, with Garnacho, it was a real shame, I thought, on Sunday that he didn't want to celebrate. That's a real shame.
There's a lot more on.
Just to that more on, yeah.
Reasons beyond that, Bruno said, and then I don't know if anybody's seen there's a video of like United fan. He's like a little kid, and he's shouting to Ru, bring Garnacho on, and then Garnacho heard him, and then give him his shirt.
Give him his shirt, yeah.
So I thought that's what it's all about, cheering on the boys. You might have grumbles about players or certain things they haven't done right in the game, and they know.
I don't know how you can criticise him when the lad's got more goals and assists this season than the likes of Mbappe.
Saka and Foden and everyone, yeah.
Like I hear in the stands, there's like moans
and he's 21.
Like in the stands, I hear moans and groans about Bruno. I'm just like, I just think sometimes
Bruno's been better than Kevin De Bruyne, and I'll say that and say that to my grave.
But then sometimes he's the one taking the risk, and sometimes the risk doesn't come off, and I'm just like, at least you're trying to do something. I'm just like, but yeah, for me, Garner, I'm looking forward to seeing what more he can do for us as well.
Yeah, he's got a great career ahead of him, I think. Daz, who have you got? Doesn't have to be on the right. However you want to squeeze the rest of the players in.
So
however you want to do it.
Right central midfielder or right midfielder, right winger?
Like, well, the way I've got mine set up, I've got mine set up as like a 4-4-1-1 type thing. So I would say the right of midfield,
Well,
the right winger.
I'll go for my right winger, and again, I was torn between two. And I think because one of them is going to make me probably the most hated person in the room, I'm going to go for Mason Greenwood. Because
Ooh.
I think he's the only academy player, and I'm going to class the 92 in this. He's the only academy player that from the first moment you put him in the senior squad, he looked like a complete footballer. And he wasn't even a right winger. He was a centre forward that we had to just get him in the team somehow. And obviously we didn't have a right winger. So, and the other one I was torn between, and I think a lot of people are so fixated on the hate of this person, they forgot actually how good he was when he played, and that was Angel Di Maria. I think the outside stuff that went wrong with it, his house getting burgled, he's falling out with the club, forcing a move away and getting the nickname as the Snake. People forget how good he actually was when he played. He was absolutely phenomenal. It was only towards the end of his time at United when he was forcing that move where you sort of got that I can't be bothered mentality from him. But I thought he was great. But yeah, I've gone with Mason Greenwood just because, I couldn't not put anyone else in there when I looked at it, and I've sort of gone for a right winger. So I've sort of gone with the 4-2-3-1, which is the sort of the most formation we've sort of played post Ferguson.
Okay. I'm not sure many people are going to put Greenwood in, but we'll go with that. Adam, who have you got?
Yeah, so I've done similar. I've done a 4-2 sort of 3-1, which is typically what we've been playing. Yeah, Greenwood, great footballer, just a complete and utter bell end. That's obviously the problem with him. I've gone with what Andrew said, Garnacho, just because you look at the players that have been brought in to play on that right-hand side and who he has pushed out of the starting 11 at his age, from obviously coming through the academy. And his statistics for his age are brilliant by anyone's standards. He's done far better than most of the big typical wingers in the league. So yeah, I had to put him there because I had to squeeze him in the team. And I know he tends to play a left, but he can play a right as well. But I wanted to get him in somehow across this formation.
Yeah, that's a fair shout. I've actually gone for Juan Mata.
Ooh,
I'm not sure how many times he played on the right, but I used to love him. He just felt like a United player to me, a proper little magician. David Moyes signing possibly. What's that, Andrew?
Said Moyes signing, but it was a few times where he was on the right and just because
famously at Liverpool when he got that double, he was playing on the right.
That was probably not his natural position because the one mattered a bit, but pace he wasn't necessarily blessed with. So it's more.
Yeah, it's more central, wasn't it?
More central, where he a bit like a David Silva, where he could orchestrate a lot of things. But on the right, it was just like.
I always thought with that signing that Chelsea were crazy to let us have him because he was actually playing quite well at Chelsea at the time, weren't he? I remember it really come out of the blue. But I loved him. I loved Mata, so I had to get him in there. Was that sorry?
We got him in January, which for a player of that caliber is very rare to be able to pull off a signing like that mid-season.
Was he the one that we had that we got a helicopter to bring him in? Was that Mata? It was, wasn't it? Yeah, I love that. I just love all the Hollywood of it. It's fucking brilliant. So we'll go left side now. We'll go left side. We'll go to Andrew again. Again, Andrew, you squeeze him in however you want, buddy.
I know. I'm just looking at the players I'm putting in. I'm just going up this. He can play. Well, he has played left and right as well. So I'm going to put him in anyway. Well, I'm going to get him in any. Whatever position, so Bruno Fernandes, there's people out there that, are not fans of Bruno, which is fair enough, whether that's from our position, but and sometimes it's not everyone's cup of tea, but there's those that don't actually rate him, people say like Kevin De Bruyne, I'm just like, well, Bruno's equally as good and sometimes even better. Sometimes you think, if we hadn't signed him, where would United be without him? Because, his creativity and his robustness, since he signed for us, has been, second to none. And I just think, Bruno, is, the catalyst, that enables, to qualify for like the the Champions League. You know, he might have had some lulls over the time, but he's been a key figure in the United's plan. So, before Ronaldo, Cristiano came back, he was literally carrying the team. So, but I think before Cristiano got back in 121 games, he had 49 goals and 39 assists to his name. So, just thinking United have been lower down the table and we've never finished fourth, so, or in the in the Champions League spot. So it was a great signing by Ollie on that one to bring him in. So, and look forward to watching him for a good number of more years with United.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're talking about the best 11 post Fergie, but he has to be the best signing post Fergie, doesn't he? I don't think anyone can really argue with that. Daz, right hand side, left hand side. Sorry, left. Confusing myself.
I've gone for Marcus Rashford. I know we've had a troublesome 12 months from him. He had not long after COVID, he went through another, the year before he got the 30 goals, he had a bit of a tough patch. But I think people forget how important he was so young in his football career. I mean, the miracle in Paris, as they call it, the comeback against Paris Saint-Germain. Marcus Rashford looked like a world-class player in that game. I think even in the year he got 30 goals, there's a world-class player there. We know there's a world-class player there. And I think people say to me what went wrong with Marcus Rashford. I don't think anything's gone wrong with him. I think he's a phenomenal footballer. But he's coming to United at the wrong time for me. I think they've had quite an instability with different managers, and different managers have had different styles. So he's sort of been allowed to be a little bit immature in the dressing room. Nobody's got that under control. So it's, I just think he's a poorly trained footballer mindset-wise. I think it's the arrogance that he's got and the sort of bitchiness that he has sort of just been because of the way he's been managed. But I just don't think, for me, Garnacho has passed him yet. I think we could very much see him pass him, and it could happen this season. But for me, hasn't quite passed him yet. I think Rashford was so good especially during them Van Gaal days and Jose Mourinho days. He was so good for us.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've had Rashford. I don't think we've had a better left-sided midfielder. Adam, who have you got?
Yeah, I went for Rashford as well. I know he's got his critics, he's got his up and down, but as Daz says, there is a world-class player in there. We just need the right coach to pull it out of him. And I thought Ten Hag had done with that 30-goal season. So hopefully he can recapture that form under Amorim, fingers crossed, because on his day, he's unbeatable. So he has to go in there. And because he's a youth product as well as an academy product, it's just testament to how good our youth system is. I remember his debut when he was basically brought in by complete fluke because someone got injured in the warm-up. And then he scored.
Was that Mitchell was it or someone?
Yeah, someone like that. And he scored that goal against Arsenal, then scored in Europe the following game. And it was like he just hit the ground running, and he has done ever since. So hopefully he can reclaim his form, because on his day, as I say, he's absolutely unbeatable. Yeah,
I think that's where the frustration comes, isn't it, with Rashford? Because we all know how good he can be. Yeah. We almost kind of want to get hold of him and shake him. And it's like, get back to what you can do, because he's amazing when he's on it, isn't he? Right, we'll come back to Andrew. So you've got Garner and Bruno, right and left, however you want to do it. And give us another one.
So if I go into the centre of the midfield, so I'm going to go with Ander Herrera. I was thinking he was our player of the season in 2017. He helped us win the League Cup and Europa League. Played 189 times for us, and he was definitely a fan favourite. It was just his tireless work rate and his man marking. You've only got to ask Eden Hazard, and during that one game against Chelsea, he literally had him in his pocket, and I've never, for all the talent Hazard had, that he just couldn't get past Herrera that day. So, and it was gutting because he spent 5 years with us. It was just a bit gutting when he left, and I think the club allowed him to leave for nothing as well. So, for Herrera, it was just like, I wish he'd have actually stay with us, because I think he brought that bite to the midfield, and at some points, after Herrera left, we haven't had that in the end midfield. He was a model professional, and say he would be at the heart of the game plan as well. So he's a type of player and character that, you could argue could do with now as well. So, but yeah, Herrera for me, and one of my midfield centre midfielders.
Yeah, I've got Herrera as well. I mean, as you said, I think we just let him go far too easy, far too early. A little bit like Smalling, and you can see how much he still loves United as well when he does his interviews and stuff. Yeah, he's a great player. Herrera was. Daz, who have you got in the middle?
I've gone with the same under Herrera. I think that first year from Casemiro is the highest performing midfielder that we've had from any player post, because I don't think anyone was that good for a full season. So I think Casemiro deserves a special mention for that, just because he took us back to a level that year that we've just not seen since Michael Carrick retired. But I think Ander Herrera was just progressively getting good. I can't honestly, I'm sure he did have, because of the times that we was in, but I cannot honestly remember him having a bad game.
No.
So yeah, I went for Ander Herrera just because of the consistency. He was progressively getting good. He looked very coached. Yeah.
I think you kind of knew what you were getting, didn't you, with Herrera? You knew he was going to leave it all out there. You knew he'd 9 times out of 10 give you a 7 out of 10, sort of every game. Always solid. Adam, got a clean sweep, or have you pulled another one out of the hat?
No, clean sweep. Again, another cult hero, as agree with the entire panel, someone we let go far too soon. I don't think you need to bring the likes of Fred in if you keep Ander Herrera, to be honest. I think he could still be at the club doing a service for us now, really. He was that good. And I think he goes down in history because he was the one that goaded Gerrard into doing that famous, was it? He was, to where he got red carded. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it was him. I could be wrong. Someone might correct me as soon as he came on in that second half. But he was fantastic, and I don't think we realised what we were losing until he went. It was one of those.
I'd have loved him under Ferguson. I really would have loved him under Ferguson, because the only player in my head that he reminds me of is Michael Carrick. I know there was different midfielders, but just, the way that you're never going to get the credit for being such a great player until he leaves, and then you realise we miss him.
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit like Fletcher, mate. A little bit of like a pit bull that you were kind of getting a job out of him, but he was never getting the credit for it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're saying in chat, are we 4-2-3-1? Are we 4-4-2? Yeah. It is kind of however you want to do it. I mean, I think I've probably set mine at 4-2-3-1, kind of going off how we play at the moment. So I've got another midfielder in mind. Do you have another midfielder, Andrew, or are you going up top now?
I've got another midfielder.
Go on and give it us.
For me, it's can't be Mainu. I'm just like amazed at what he's done so far at United. The way he's broken through as well. So you're thinking when he had last season, that pre-season was like, oh, this kid looks really good, and then he got the injury and was like, we've got to wait a couple of more months. A bit like Lenny Yoro, we're just like, I can see how good in that one pre-season game was like, he's finally, got rid of his injury. So, but no, making his Premier League debut at Goodison Park, in front of, thousands of Everton fans, it's not easy, but then, he put in like a man of the match performance and just got better from there. I mean, like going to like Liverpool weeks later, excelled in, the team that was not, let's say, a bit of a mishmash, but it was a goal of straw, but he did well there. So I just think scoring the goal at Monley that won the game, I'm just like calm and composure on the ball, took it away into the corner, and then just like suddenly away fans just into delirium as well. So, but for me, it's just like him applying the finishing move in the FA Cup final. I just remember just thinking, how the hell are we 2-0 up? And this is like United, what we're capable of doing, you know, devastating attacks. And I just think, you look at him, you know, he's, you know, internationally as well, playing for England as well. You can't say there's not many English United players that played in major finals, and Kobe Mainoo is one of them. So it's not, you know, the other likes of Sir Bobby, Nobby Stars, Maguire, Rashford and Luke Shaw as well. So there's plenty of others, you know, United players that played for England have fallen short, you know, the likes of Gary Neville, Brian Robson, so even Wayne Rooney and Scholesy, to mention a few. But there's, I just hope.
Oh, we lost him.
Yeah, he's gone. So
we'll carry on.
So for me, I just hope he holds that youthful innocence still, and he just, you know, he just keeps that for as long as he can. But it's just like, I think.
Oh, we're still there.
Yeah,
we carried on. We didn't notice.
Sorry, you carry on.
Kept the show running. But yeah, I'd say from me, Mainoo, it's just amazed me how he's progressed so far. And I'm just thinking, I hope, you know, we keep him for a long time to come, because he's going to be essential to us winning trophies at United.
Yeah, I think his ceiling is it's just massive, isn't it? His ceiling. I just hope, because he will undoubtedly have a little bit of a dip. Because last season, just everything he did was just top draw, wasn't it? Like you say, it was Euros final. He was just very, very good. Adam, have you got another midfielder?
I do. So I was torn between two. My head was saying you've got to say Pogba, but he's a dick and I don't like him, so I didn't want to put him in. So I went with my heart. A player that I personally loved. He might not necessarily be the best, but I wanted to put him in, and that is Bastian Schweinsteiger. I loved when he came to United. He was an absolute Rolls Royce. I thought the way he was treated by Mourinho in particular was really, really shockingly bad. He was one of those players I wish we had signed 5 years earlier, because he was an absolute monster at Bayern, as we know. But I loved that he was at United for those few years. I was really happy that we did get to see him live in the flesh at Old Trafford. So I've gone a little bit left wing. Completely agree with Mainoo. I think he's going to be our next generational star. But I wanted to just get Bastian Schweinsteiger in there just because I loved having him in the club.
Yeah, that's a fair shout. I think I agree. It was one of those signings, wasn't it? That it just felt like a very big player coming in. But yeah, I agree. Daz, who have you got?
I've gone for Paul Pogba. I think we only ever saw him at 70% in comparison to the 100% that we saw at Juventus. But I think at 70%, he was still in the top 5 in the Premier League during his whole course of the Premier League. At any given moment, he could pull out that pass that could change the game. At any given moment, he was one magic moment away from winning a game. I think Mourinho did mismanage him, and maybe Mourinho struggled to manage him. I'm not going to blame one or the other, but I think it was mismanaged. You know, I think the pettiness of, you know, the tweet that he sent or whatever it was, which was obviously done by his social media team, and Mourinho just wanted to pick a fight, and he decided to pick it with Paul Pogba. I think people don't give Paul Pogba the credit at Man United because he wasn't as good as he was at Juventus. But I do think we saw him at 70%, and that 70% is still better than what we saw from Ander Herrera, still better than what we saw from Kobe Mainoo. I mean, I think I could name every single midfielder we've had up until now, and I think Paul Pogba at 70% was still better than all of them.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I've got McTominay in mind, just purely off. He was just United, wasn't he? He was just like United through and through, and a little bit like Maguire, in my opinion. Very underrated, but you always knew what you were getting. Like last season, the vital goals he scored. I was gutted when we sold him as well. I'm very happy, like loads of other players that we saw. I'm very happy that he's gone over to Napoli, and their fans absolutely love him, don't they? See, I've got McSauce and Herrera in my middle, but Box makes a point. Lingard, was Lingard anywhere near any of your 11s? Was there a shout there?
No, but if we was to build an 11 based on what could have been, I think he'd have made that, because I think he's got You know, sometimes a player needs to have the swagger and the flair to be a great player. They need to have that confidence. I think in his head, Jesse Lingard is a world-class footballer. And that's not a bad thing to have that mentality if you can back it up. Unfortunately, he didn't quite hit that. I always think his biggest mistake was not going to West Ham on a permanent move, because I think that 6 months at West Ham, that was the best 6 months I've ever seen from Jesse Lingard. He was West Ham's key player, and going to Forest.
Where is he now?
Was the big, pardon? It's
He's over
is he now?
Korea.
Korea or
Korea.
Japan, isn't he?
Korea
He's over
or
there.
Wow.
Japan, something like that.
Yeah.
It's not. It's more of a social media signing than anything, because it's the Lingardino and Jay Ling's brand. I think it was.
That was
I
his
think for
problem,
him
though.
it was a brand decision, because from what I can gather, his clothing brand has become really successful over there. So, do I knock him? Probably not. You know, football's obviously monetised more nowadays, but I think from a footballing point of view, I'd have loved to have seen him go to West Ham, because I think he'd have been that player that everyone would have said you should never have let him leave Man United. It's immense. But I just think it was the right fit for him, West Ham.
I always
think
look at
that
Lingard
story,
as like what could have been.
I think that famous story that Rooney tells about when they'd lost and he walked into the dressing
Pogba
room.
and Lingard.
Pogba and Lingard are recording videos for TikTok and dancing.
Yeah.
That's for me, all of that nonsense and business pissed me off with those two. So I think that's why they're always kind of not quite up there. As you say, could have been if they'd have put all that to one side, really knuckled down and focused. They could have been legends for the club.
What do we think about that one from Box? Matic, Herrera, and Fernandez. I always thought he was solid as well. Matic, I thought he was a very good player.
He was a good signing.
Right, for me in my team, I'm on the number 10 now. I don't know if that's where you boys are. Andrew, are you with us?
An attacking midfielder.
Sort of got two up top. So, well, I'm definitely sure of. The other, I'm flitting between two players. But I've definitely got.
All right, go on and give us one more then, Andrew. So give us one more.
So probably the first one is Zlatan Ibrahimovic. I just could not leave Zlatan out. He's just like, got him on a free from Paris Saint-Germain. So he's brought in to spearhead Mourinho's attack. And, in his first season, I think it was 28 goals and 10 assists in his only full season. So he helped us win the Europa League. And he scored that brace in the final and that header to win, against Southampton 3-2. So obviously then it was, his season got cut short near the end with the cruciate ligament injury, but then he struggled to, when he came back and then moved on to LA Galaxy. But he was the key to winning those 3 trophies in that, Mourinho's first full season. Yes, but I say Ibrahimovic, he came to England and he definitely delivered. Say he came, he saw, and he conquered as well. And as he like to say, lions don't compare themselves to humans. But I've not seen a player, probably not since Eric Cantona, somebody with that presence that comes in and goes, like when Eric came in, he's like the collar up and saying, well, this is my stage, I'm going to entertain you. And like Zlatan walked in and said, well, yeah, I'm going to entertain you as well. So, but yeah, and also I think with Zlatan, he kept a lot of the dressing room in check. And I think, like Paul Pogba, he's like, when Zlatan left, I think the reins were off Paul Pogba, and they got away with a lot of more things. But I just think Zlatan, like being like a bit of an older brother to him, is like, keeping him in check. So, but yeah, Zlatan for me, he was definitely. Well, after Bruno, he's probably a qualified success at United, even though he had one full season. Yeah,
he was top drawer. I thought Zlatan. I thought he was immense. Daz, who have you got in the 10, or is your first striker? Who have you got?
So obviously I've gone for Bruno Fernandes, and his numbers speak for themselves. I think since his debut, no player has created more chances, no more big chances, no midfielder has got more assists or more goals. He is literally, purely based on stats, the Premier League's most productive footballer in the Premier League and has been since he arrived. And to say that we've got Kevin De Bruyne in the same league, that's a massive, massive thing to be able to say. Also, I've done some research. There's no player in the Premier League in the same time that has won more official Man of the Match awards and more Player of the Month awards. It's literally in front of everybody on both of them as well. And I think it's the only footballer in the Man United squad post-Ferguson that walks into any team in the world. I genuinely think he does. I think, is he a great captain? No. Does he have a crappy attitude at time? No. But sometimes your environment brings the worst out in you, and I think that has affected him. I think Man United for so long has been quite a toxic environment that it's not helped. It's not helped. I mean, we would never know what sort of body language we'd see from a Paul Scholes if he was in this team. You know, would Paul Scholes be just as frustrated and Mardy if he was in this team? We don't know, because, you know, we only ever see him in that happy, you know, really good mindset team that Alex Ferguson had. But I think Bruno Fernandes, for me, the only difference between him and Kevin De Bruyne, because I actually think Bruno is a better footballer, I think the only difference is one's in a successful team winning the league and the other isn't. I think if the tables was turned, I think Bruno would have been in the top 10 for the Ballon d'Or every single year.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you just said. I mean, I've got Bruno in mind. I think he's massively underrated. It's something I put on my TikTok so often. Like you say, I think it's very easy to perform in a performing team. Like if you're in a good team, it's very easy. But his stats are still there, even in a poor United team. His stats, his goals, his assists, as you say, his man of the matches, his player of the months, everything is still there. It's something that they used to throw at Gerrard, wasn't it? Like, could Gerrard do what Scholes does? Could Scholes do what Gerrard does in a poorer team? And I think it's very similar with De Bruyne. I think Bruno's quality, and I probably agree with you that he does walk into any other team, to be honest. I'd love to see him in a better team.
You know, when you was mentioning about being able to perform in a poor team, I think this is one of the reasons why I think David De Gea was so good for them few years that we discussed earlier. This was a point where Manchester United, had it not been for him, would have consistently finished out of the top four. I think he was, you know, for them 3 years, I think he deserves to be mentioned with Peter Schmeichel and Edwin van der Sar. Just for them 3 years alone, he was our most important player. To do that with no defence in front of him, especially this is a player that was used to having the greatest ever defence in front of him, completely different, isn't it? And I think that's been the same for Bruno. Yeah, there's a million things that change about him. I'd take the captaincy off him. I don't think it suits him, and I don't think he suits the captaincy. I'd surround him with better mentality players, and I think we would see that mood in him change. But in terms of his football ability, you've only got to look at the stats, and you can manipulate stats. Like, people can say Marcus Rashford's one of the best left wingers in the Premier League because he's the only left winger to produce 30 goals in one season. Literally, even Sadio Mane didn't do that. He got 29 at his highest. Marcus Rashford. So you can manipulate the stats, you know, based on one season and say this player deserves to be there because of that. But Bruno's done this consistently since he's been in the Premier League. If anything, it was only the back end of last season and the beginning of this season where you look at him and you think, that's not even close to where we've seen him. But in recent games, we've started to see that Bruno of old start building. I think the Mourinho's just going to build on that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Adam, I'd be surprised if you've got someone else in the 10, but carry on.
He's been the best signing post Fergie, and actually probably the last couple of years of Fergie's reign, to be honest. He's probably been our best signing for easily 15 years. As you rightly say, he walks into any team in the Premier League. Rival fans may say different, but he walks into the Arsenal team, the Liverpool team, the City team any day of the week. He is, again, Moyes said on Sticks Football, he was the one player they were always worried about when West Ham came up against United, because he could just come up with that one pass that would be through and someone would score a goal. He's been brilliant, and I still can't believe some people question him in our fan base with what he's done since he's come in a very, very poor United side for the last couple of years, let's be honest. So I really hope Amorim is the answer and we do start to improve and we can see the best that Bruno Fernandes can bring, because he is entering his peak years now in terms of being in that position. So if he can peak at the same time as United do start to climb and come back as Ineos have promised us, we could be on for something special the next few years.
Yeah. I think that's it, innit? Your surroundings are so important. It's easy to produce their numbers if you've got a Bernardo Silva and a Gundogan wrapped around you, you know. But, you know, he's had Fred and McTominay. Pretty much that's been, I think, the two midfielders that he's played the most with. And obviously, I love McTominay. I mean, we mentioned him, but he's not at the level that, you know, of a Gundogan or a Bernardo Silva, is he? And I think this is one of the reasons why Owen Hargreaves, who I think was an actual average footballer, looked so good at Man United, because had Michael Carrick, Paul Scholes wrapped around him. You know, good players can make you a better player, but to be that good when you're surrounded with lesser players is far more impressive for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, where would we be without Bruno? I think we'd be in a hell of a lot worse.
You dread to think, don't you? You really do dread to think without his goals and assists the last few years.
Yeah, I agree. So the last one for me, I've kind of gone with what Andrew said. I've kind of gone with Zlatan because I thought he was Hollywood. I thought he was top draw, and pretty much exactly like you say, Andrew. He was like the Cantona arrival. It was just the arrogance, the ego, love, all of that. And he backed it up as well, didn't he, with performances? Andrew, give me your last one.
So I was going between two here. Just thinking, the one, I'll say, I'll give the honourable mention to, I'm going to give it to Højlund, the honourable mention. I just think, you know, he's one for the potential and he'll come good. And, you know, his quality hopefully will shine through. And I just think he needs a top-class strike, you know, alongside him, or, you know, can work, you know, in tandem. So, you know, with no cover for him, you know, he's had to tour with a lot of, you know, little service, but I think once he gets that service and, you know, he'll start firing, but it needs, you know, potent strike, you know, to work with him and, you know, bring him along as well. But the one I've gone for, and this is probably more my heart ruling in my head, and that's probably Cristiano. I was thinking for the, I'd say I never got to see him, you know, play live the first time he arrived at the club, but never since, you know, he left, you know, in 2009. I think every summer, I think fans were probably, would he come back? And, you know, and then 2021, that summer it did happen, and, you know, we're all happy that, you know, he was coming home. So it's like rekindling the story, but I don't think anybody thought how the season was going to pan out once Ronaldo got back as well. You know, Ollie being, you know, sacked, and then we had Ralph Rangnick in charge as well. But, you know, he scored, you know, plenty of goals for us because he was now more of a centre forward, whereas the first time he was more out on the wings. And, you know, for what I think, because we only spent like 30.5 million on him, so it wasn't like we're spending like huge amounts. I think it was about 18 million plus the first time.
Yeah, it wasn't expensive.
Yeah, so say 30 million we outlaid on him, we sold him for like 80 million. Was it 80 or
80, 85, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so we made a good and say he was one of the good things about those dark days during that, you know, that 2021-22 season, but it then turned a little bit sour, and obviously you don't go against the manager, and just that was his opinion. But and some things he said in that interview were right about the club ownership, which I agree with. But you just, you know, it's just for me, Ronaldo. I think I've said on it before. You know, that second homecoming, the game against Newcastle, the atmosphere was just electric at Old Trafford. And I was still in there an hour after the game because we all wanted to see him come out and do his interview. So, but yeah, for me, yeah, my heart rolled my head on that one to Cristiano, just because some of the games he played and the winning goals he got, I just think Atalanta, Villarreal, to name but a few. And then remember the Tottenham game where he scored his hat-trick as well.
Yeah.
The first one, Fred flicked it over to him and he just hit a thunderbolt into the goal. And just like, yeah, and even like Norwich at home as well, that free kick as well to win it 3-2. It's a lot of 3-2s that season, if I remember rightly. So, but yeah, just like, you just couldn't question the talent of Ronaldo and his ability just to pull something out of the hat for us. But yeah, just it's a shame the way it ended, but he's still a legend of the club, and you know he'll be welcome back at some point once he's retired.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I mean, he pulled us through a lot of games, didn't he, that season? He was very good. Adam, who's your last one?
Yeah, so I was half of me was Ronaldo, half of me was Ibrahimovic. The reason I've gone for Ibrahimovic is Ronaldo broke my heart a little bit when he left that season. I think he just didn't go about it the right way. If you're not happy, you wait till the end of the season or the January transfer window and you leave amicably and you just support the club that you supposedly love as best you can when you need it, because he was coming off the bench a lot under Ten Hag that season, which was right. He didn't have a full pre-season. He wasn't fit, despite what he'll tell you, because I know we had a lot of problems. Obviously at home, he lost his son amongst other things, so he didn't go out on tour, and there was loads of obviously stuff we're never going to know in the background. Yeah. So I went with Ibrahimovic. I think he's the last time we had a proper striker at United, like your proper typical what you think of as a United number 9. You know, when you think back through the years, your Cantona, your Van Nistelrooy's, going through the list, he was the last time we had, and it's what we're desperately crying out for now. Can Højlund become that? Time will only tell. He's still very young, but we are missing that 28, 29-year-old striker who comes in, as everyone says, with that swagger, with that flair, and then backs it up as well. And he was obviously a big voice in the dressing room. I think you're right with what you said earlier about him keeping like the likes of Lindegaard and Pogba kind of, you know, under wraps, like being a bit of a disciplinarian, because he was a winner. He has been throughout his career. So, yeah, I had to go with him because I loved it when he was here. I thought he was brilliant for us.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. I think he's at Milan now, is he? I think he's technical director at Milan or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, love him. Even though we only had him for a season, I love him. Daz, who have you got?
I wrote 2 names on a piece of paper today, and I've been trying to split them. And the reason why I put the 2 names down is because in my head there was no way I could have built this team without putting one of them in the team, and that was Cavani and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Because for me, it was the only 2 players that would easily slot into an Alex Ferguson team in the prime. You know, But then I said to my wife, "Take man, she knows nothing about football. Probably couldn't even tell you who the 2 players are." I said, "Who do I pick?" And she said something, and it made me didn't pick either of them. She said, "Who did it best?" So I've gone with Romelu Lukaku.
Right.
I've gone with Lukaku because I think the Ronaldo that we saw, I think it was 25 goals, I think it was a good number, but it's the worst version of Ronaldo we've ever seen. And I think that's not spoke about. I think the way he left, refusing to come on as a sub because we needed him for 2-3 minutes. I think for me, I can't, for that reason, I can't put Ronaldo in this team. I wouldn't even play with the idea of putting him in. But I think Romelu Lukaku was fantastic. I think he had a bit of an awkward ending, but I'm going to blame Jose Mourinho for that. I think when you look at him, when he came to United, he was really lean, really confident. And when he left United, he was very overweight. He then went back to Italy and he's got quite lean again and he started scoring goals again. And I know Italian leagues, you know, different and strikers do better over there than potentially over here. But he did do it in the Premier League. He did it at Everton. He did it at Man United for that 18 months. So we know that he had the ability to play in the Premier League. We know he did because we saw it. And I think he's one of these that just did it better than, which shows how poor Manchester United have been at making signings, even down to Zlatan and Cavani. Amazing players. If I made a list of my greatest ever 10 strikers, both of them 2 would make that list. And Radamel Falcao would probably make that list. I loved all 3 of them. But I think if we're all honest, it was the wrong players at the wrong time of their career. You know, say even down to Ronaldo, wrong sort of player. We just didn't need him. We didn't need a Ronaldo in that team. I think Ollie potentially needed a Rasmus Hojlund in that team.
Well, he had Cavani, didn't he? He had Cavani, didn't he, Ollie?
I think that's it. I mean, I'm always a big fan of having, like a bit now, for example, if we was to go to the market for a proven centre forward in January, I'd have no issues bringing in a Benzema. I'd have no issues. Why? Because we've got a young striker who can develop alongside him. But when you bring in a Ronaldo, you can't bench a Ronaldo. He's got to play 9 times out of 10. But with a Cavani or a Zlatan, as you saw with Cavani, he was happy to play that mentoring role and, you know, have that midweek break or whenever we decided to break. He was happy with that. And I think that would have helped nurture a young player. But yeah,
who are you going for? Who did you say?
I've gone for Lukaku in the end because I just think, yeah, I don't think Zlatan or Cavani scored enough goals for me. Whereas Lukaku, he did finish a top goal scorer, and it was a different one. I think he's the worst striker out of the 3 that I've named. But I just think he did better for Man United than the others.
That's fair. I mean, it's interesting to see what we all look for in players. We clearly all look for different things. So we've got our 11. They need a manager, the best manager post Fergie. This will be an interesting one. Adam, we'll go with you first. Who's managing this 11?
For all the characters we've named, for me, Jose Mourinho. Yeah, he was another one where I think we sacked him too soon. We've said that a couple of times. God, it's like been rinse and repeat this season. Ten Hag, hasn't it? But I think his arrogance probably cost him his job in the end. I think he did genuinely lose the dressing room. But I think if you talk about successes like that second place, he said that was the best achievement in his entire career, and he got us a European trophy and domestic trophies as well. And just overall swagger and arrogance. Like if you're talking about your Fergie level managers, Mourinho's in that conversation. So for us to have him for the period that we did, he'd be my one to manage that 11.
Yeah, I was a big. I thought it should have been Jose after Fergie personally, just to kind of.
It's because he went to Madrid, didn't he? He went to Madrid for a LAN, and he wasn't going to say no to Madrid.
Yeah, I think that sort of ego would have been needed at that point with us being champions and the big players we had. Andrew, who have you got? Moisey, innit? It's got to be.
Yeah, no. In terms of who's won trophies, you take it's either Van Gaal, Mourinho, or Ten Hag, and I'm just like, I want to back Ollie to do it. I just think, you know, he's certainly a club legend before he got back, and when he did come back to us, you know, the way Mourinho left and say, so Ollie was given the task, put smiles on people's faces again, and which he did, and I'm just thinking. We had some good times on Ronnie. There were some pretty low times on Ronnie near the end, and you just wanted it to work out for him. And just think that the defeat in the Europa League final probably just like I don't know whether if we'd have won that, how we started the season afterwards, where we lost 5-0 to Liverpool and then City, and then say that Watford away game, which was his last, and I just on paper, I should go with.
You know what, though? I think the Ronaldo signing screwed Ollie that season because he's even said it himself since. He said they had to change all the plans at the very last minute to, as Daz said, accommodate Ronaldo because Ronaldo can't be benched. And the way we were playing before they came in, we looked really, really good. And I do think that was the football hierarchy because they knew if they brought Ronaldo in, all the sales money for the shirts and the shares and everything else obviously did go through the roof. I think they screwed him there.
And there was the possibility he could be joining the neighbours across the road, and I was like, no, not allowing that. And I see, I don't know when Ollie was asked, I said, do you want it? You really, hindsight, maybe you should have said no, but then it's Ronaldo. Do you say no to Ronaldo?
You don't turn him down, do you?
Yeah, and Ollie's played with Ronaldo as a teammate as well, so he knows what he was capable of. So, but yes, in terms of a manager, I'm going to go with Ollie. I just feel like, even when Ten Hag was, let go, it was like the week before, Ollie was said at that forum, said, "Oh, if United can call him again, would you say yes?" And he said, "Of course I will. I'm not going to say no to him. I'm going to help the club out again, like Rue did, And shame he's gone now, but it is what it is."
Yeah, I'd probably go with Ollie as well. I mean, as you say, he put a smile on our faces again. He had us playing the United way. It felt like we were going in the right direction. Daz, I have a feeling you're going to say Ollie as well.
I am. And the reason why I'm saying Ollie is I'm going to put some stats behind this because I think it's only fair to justify why you're picking a man. When Ollie took charge of Manchester United, I think it was in the end of February, he had 18 games left in the Premier League season. Had the season had started at that point, and I know it's all if buts and maybes, but had the season had started in that point, he would have won the league. And I think that's impressive considering Pep and Klopp both finished on 98 and 97 points. And he was better than them from that point of the season. And he couldn't go to the market to fix a problem. He inherited a problem after the window and he couldn't fix anything. He just had to work with what he had. He never finished below a semi-final in any competition. Granted, he didn't win anything, and I say this to a lot of people, when you've got, and I ask this question to everybody, Maguire, Lindelof, Fred, McTominay, as an 18-year-old right winger and no centre forward, what was he ever meant to win? Was we ever the best team to win? When you think the spine of the team, in my opinion, is the most important part, and to say that again, you've got a Lindelof, not a top 4 starter for me. Harry Maguire, rival fans don't think he's a top 4 player. I think he is, but rival fans don't think he is. Fred, McTominay, again, I don't think either are. An 18-year-old right winger, as good as Mason Greenwood was, he wasn't ready to start for the biggest club in the world. He should have been nurtured in a bit more, but he was so relied upon. Again, Marcus Rashford was still quite young as well when he started. So for me, to never finish below a semi-final, and it's important to remember, he had no structure above him. He's not had that advantage that Ruben Amorim's going to have. He's had no structure above him. And rumours have it that when he came into Manchester United, he wanted Manchester United to sign Erling Haaland. Granted, I think he'd ultimately, with family ties, he'd have maybe picked Man City over United, fair enough. But the second name on his list was Alvarez. I'll ask the question, like Adam said, we were starting to progress really well. We was constantly finishing the top 4. We was always finishing in the last 4 of every single tournament. If we would have brought in an Alvarez, who did really well at City, over Ronaldo, would we have won the league under Ollie? I think we would have done. I think Ollie would have got us closer than any other manager. And I mean, you look at some of the names that he famously came out before the United job and said he was a big fan of Jude Bellingham at Birmingham. Caicedo, Lavia. So clearly he understood how to choose players at an early part of the career. I just think it was the wrong time for Ollie, with the wrong owners, the wrong everything. I think he got bullied into taking Ronaldo as well. But I think the numbers behind him, absolutely phenomenal. And I don't think he would go anywhere else and be a great manager. I think sometimes the manager's just built for a certain club. And I think Ollie, with the passion and everything that he has from Man United and the way that he coached. I know Alex Ferguson didn't coach anyone in particular, maybe other than Steve McLaren. but he did have coaches that got the coaching badges under him, and Ollie was obviously one of them. And Ollie always famously said that his mentor was Alex Ferguson. So that wanting to play fast attacking football the United way obviously brushed off on him. And I think he did struggle to discipline the dressing room, and I think that was one of the weaknesses that he had. But I wouldn't have been against bringing in someone like Roy Keane as an under manager, as an assistant manager, just that had that would demand that respect in the dressing room. And someone famously said to me they should have brought Stuart Pearce in to work with him. Again, certain sort of character that would just demand respect. I think that was Ollie's only weak point for me.
I was going to say he might still get his league winners medal as a manager if the charges against City are proven, and they might hand the titles back, but who knows. But like Mourinho, didn't he say the other week, he said, I want my my medal, and when I do, I want my bonus as well, because I've won the league if that is proven. But we'll see in the new year when it all comes out what happens to City.
I mean, for me, I think NT's got it spot on there. It just felt like United again when Ollie was in charge. We were playing the right way, and we looked like we were dangerous all the time. So I'd have gone with Ollie as well. But yeah, that's the 11. I've enjoyed that, boys. Some strong 11s. Some slightly iffy calls from Daz there, going a little bit outside the box, but we'll go with it. But I kind of want to end today's show on Ruud and our thoughts on him leaving and was it a right decision, etc. We'll go to
Andy. Before you mention that, because we're talking about post Ferguson, can I just mention something really quick?
Yeah, you carry on.
Yeah, so Manchester United brought in 54 players post Alex Ferguson, and a high number of them haven't worked, and we've spent far too much money. But I don't want people to look at the other side of this, and this hasn't all been doom or gloom. Our academy hasn't stopped working through this 14 years. Our academy has produced 33 players that have been moved into the senior squad. I mean, just to name some of them: Thorpe, Keane, Januzaj, Wilson, McNear, Blackett, Lingard, Rashford, Varela, Andres Pereira, Twinsavy, Scott McTominay, Joel Pereira, Mensah, Jackson, Greenwood, Gomez, Williams, Chung, Henderson, Garner, Menji, Elanga, Mainu, Kovar, Zidane, Garnacho, Alvaro Fernandez, Hannibal, Gore, Forzen, Kumbawala and Collier. And I know a lot of people are going to say, how many of them are playing for the first team now? An academy's job isn't solely to create players for your team. It's to develop professional footballers. And every single one of the players I've just named are playing. I think only 4 are playing low down in the English pyramid, but the rest of them are playing at a decent level across Europe, which goes to show in all of this uncertainty that we've had in the last 12 years, our academy is something that we can still be proud of.
Yeah, 100% right. I mean, it's what United do, innit? We produce players. We've always done it. And looking at our youth system now, I think it's something we'll carry on doing. We look like we've got a good few players that could really make the grade in the youth setup. I'm very excited to see Obi Martin come through. That little lad we got from Arsenal. He looks like a proper player. But yeah, I just want to. Great point there, Daz. I just want to finish on Ruud to get your thoughts. Obviously, Ruud's left. Fletcher's been kept as part of the system. Andrew, what are your thoughts on it? How do you feel about Ruud leaving?
So a bit sad that he was there leaving, but at the end of the game against Leicester, when he started to walk over, and then as he was clapping and acknowledging the fans, it's kind of like, is this the end? And which it proved to be as well. I think somebody's written, on his exit, the biggest compliment can be paid to Ruud is, there's a lot of people, including the fans, that would like to him stayed longer in some capacity, but I get why Ruben wanted, a clean slate, and Ruud would have his own ambitions as well. And I'm just thinking at some point, in Ruben's reign, it's starting not to go very well. There'll be a clamour to like, oh, we want Ruud in charge, and then it's not. It'll be like a shadow over the club. So, but yeah, it was just So he was very proved very popular the day Rude as well, and just like I say, it was Ten Hag's recommendation to come in, as an assistant, but then became the manager as an interim manager as well. And so I think Casemiro said it from minute one. He told us, always enjoy it and always be happy to play for Manchester United as well. So, as Van Nistelrooy told the teams, as results before we're not great, and just tapped into him and said, "We'll celebrate the team goals. Each one of you go up and celebrate with that person as well, even if you're still on the other side of the touchline." If he was on the other side of the touchline, so you could see the Casemiro one in the League Cup, just like Rue celebrated like he scored that as well. So, but as I say, somebody, it's like after Ten Hag, he started the healing process at the club, and Ruben's now, going to take that forward. So, but as I say, he had a good run in the 4 games, and it was just lucky. It was all home games for him, so he never lost one. As simple as that. So, but sad he's gone, but I think it's probably the right decision, from Ruben and what he saw fit for United. So I'm excited to see what he can bring to the table. But let's say Ruben might be back one day, and say we'll still be singing his name in the stands, even though he's not there anymore.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Adam, what are your thoughts on Rude leaving? Do you think it was inevitable? Do you think he knew that it was only going to be 4 games? What do you think?
I don't think he particularly knew. They were obviously working out the finer details with Almiron and Sporting around the coaching staff. But emotionally, obviously, we've all got that strong attachment to Rude. He is a club legend. So a lot of people saying, we don't want him to go. But it makes complete sense for a new manager coming in. They're obviously going to be implementing a totally different style to what we saw under Ten Hag. And if you watch Rude's 4 games, he was playing Ten Hag's system, basically. It's just that the players responded a lot better. So it doesn't really make much sense to keep him there just because he's a club legend. He's got a good rapport with the players. Hopefully the Ruben and the new coaching staff will develop that good rapport with the players and be able to develop this new system. So it makes complete sense from the club's point of view to move on all the Ten Hag staff, which happens on every club, when they do this and they get a new manager, and allow the new manager to bring his coaching staff who he's used to working with, so he can hit the ground running, because he's taking over at a weird time in the middle of the season. So he needs all the help and support around him he can get. So, sad to see him go, but it had to happen for me.
Yeah, there was some reports coming out that the players wanted him to stay. I'm of the opinion that moving him out, you kind of move that safety blanket of the players out, and you kind of start afresh with a new manager. What are your thoughts?
Obviously, I'm sad that he's gone. I'm when it comes to football, I'm a hopeless romantic. I'd like to think that Manchester United is run by ex-players that we've all once loved, and we're just all part of that big United family, But football obviously doesn't work like that. And so I'm sad he's gone. Was it the right decision? Yeah, it was the right decision, I think. And that's nothing to do with Ruud van Nistelrooy. I think Ruud had everything to be a coach at Manchester United. He had the mindset, the will, the desire. I think he had everything, I'm not saying he was a great manager, a great coach, but, he had the right personality to be that man. And I think this is why the players really liked him. But you've got to look at it from the other side of things. You've got a new manager that's come in, and regardless of what anyone says, his job is not to babysit his assistant manager. His job is to come in, hit the ground running, because clearly he's not going to get 3-4 years. Clearly. Not if he's not earning it. And he's got to hit the ground running. And he understands modern football enough to know that. So his only condition is, I want to bring my own coaches in, and you're going to pay for them, or I'm not coming. And I like that, and the thing is, it's hard to understand where Ruud goes into that, because he's brought in himself, the assistant coach that he's always worked with, his data coach, his set piece coach, and his goalkeeping coach. I know they all do different coaching roles as well. So the first question would be, where does Ruud fit into that? And what is going to be the learning curve for Ruud to understand the way that they work together? Is that going to reduce the ability from one of the other four that is brought in? And how's that going to affect the team? But the last thing Ruben Amorim needs coming into Manchester United is a Steve McLaren, or no disrespect to these have been great coaches for Man United and great ex-players. Last thing he wants is to have to teach them how he plays. At the end of the day, he's got 4 or 5 coaches that he's bringing in with him. They all know how he sets his team up, the sort of players he's looking for, the training drills that they run. Again, that's got to be a little bit adaptive to the players that he inherits, and he'll learn that in the coming weeks. But they already know that. He doesn't need to tell them, this is the way I want to play. They already know that. And I think for him to be successful, he's got to come in and he's got to bring his right. And so as sad as it is to see Rude go, I think it was the right decision. I wouldn't mind the sort of role Darren Fletcher plays. I know he's sort of, nobody really knows what the role he does, but I think he's some sort of bridge from the youth set up to the first team, and he helps nurture players through. I think sort of a role like that, if he was to stay at Man United, would have been ideal for Ruud, because then he's not directly involved in the first team, but he allows him to understand the coaching of Ruben Amorim and the expectations of what he wants his youth players to do. But he's got a little bit of a freedom to fail with the youth team, because the under-23s and under-21s lose games. It's not a be-all and end-all. Nobody cares. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sad to see him go. It was the right decision. But, yeah, I think if Amorim says he can only do with his 5 coaches, you've got to respect that. He knows his style, he knows his coaches. And I don't think it's anything against Ruud van Nistelrooy. I think it's just he wants his home people.
Yeah, I agree. I actually think Ruud's better than being in someone's backroom staff as well. I think he's got a lot more to offer. So I'd be stunned if we don't see him land a job in the near future. I think that's it, lads. I've enjoyed tonight's show. That Fergie 11, I thought it was very good. But yeah, we'll leave it there. Where can everyone find you, Andrew Wall? Where can we find your knowledge?
Yeah, I was going to say that's my ex-Twitter handle, and my, as Barry would say, my ramblings on Stretford Paddock as well. So you can find me on there as well.
Brilliant. Adam, where can we find you?
Mostly on TikTok. That's my handle just there. Hadfield Reacts. Drop us a like, drop us a follow. Try and do videos every day when there's interesting stuff going on anyway.
Lovely stuff. Daz, other than here, of course, where can we find you?
I'm here midweek, Wednesday or Thursday, depending on the day we decide to go for, but mainly over on TikTok. That's Stay Controversial. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I think Barry's throwing a show out on the weekend. I'm not 100% sure with there not being any football, so I'm not sure about that. But we'll definitely be back next week. What we'll be talking about, I don't know. Possibly Ruben's first game. We'll have a little look into that. But yeah, enjoy the England fixture as much as you can, or whoever you support, actually, if we have foreign viewers and all that. But yeah, take care of yourselves. Thank you all for watching. And yeah, take care. Oh, shit. Sorry, I'm better.